Now, if you want the Cowboys to beat the Rams, even though it is only just the preseason, like today's video. I still want to, let's get in the habit of this. Every preview we do, I want you to like the show. Every video we do, like the show. So if you want the Cowboys to win at least a maybe not that meaningful preseason game, like this one right now. All right, Cowboys are on the road against the Rams. The early odds actually have Dallas favored, which might have something to do with the comments on the backup quarterback play and maybe some hope for Trey Lance on that one. You got to be a real sicko, though, to bet on preseason games. I've already bet on a preseason game. So here's what to watch for. And then we'll get to some players to watch. Number one, no injuries, please. It's not fun. I don't like seeing players get hurt. I don't want to lose a key player, even just a key backup, to injury. It's a balancing act you're playing. You have to put guys out there. Some guys need those reps, even if they're young and potentially impactful. So I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed. No injuries. Nothing bad happens. Nobody gets hurt. No injuries coming out of preseason week 1. Now, on the field, the one thing I am most intrigued to see is how does this new kickoff rule look? We saw it kind of in the first preseason game in the Hall of Fame game, but that field was slippery. People were falling all over each other. It wasn't very good conditions for it. I want to see how it looks this time around. And I want to see who's back there. Because I think the Cowboys are going to want to put 2 guys back there. This is my guess. Turpin's obviously one of them. I don't know if he's going to play in the preseason, though. So who else is back there? They listed these 5 guys on their depth chart. I bet there's somebody else who gets some run, too, because Rico Dowdle might not play. Deuce Vaughn's been a bit banged up. They're going to be all David Durden, Jalen Cropper. That 53rd man roster spot, and thus 48th on the active game day roster, might go to that last return guy. I want to see if someone can showcase some explosive ability and earn a roster spot early on in the preseason. So who you got in this Cowboys Week 1 preseason matchup against the LA Rams? C for the Cowboys, R for the Rams. More than the actual games that matter, it's a bit more understanding and less weird if you pick the opposing team because it's just the preseason. But get your picks in. C for the Cowboys, R for the Rams at the pinned comment of today's show. Next up, can the wide receivers stay hot? We're going to talk about this whole position group here, baby. The receivers have all shown ability. Through various points at camp, I'm excited to see if Ryan Flournoy can stay healthy and do something. You're obviously not going to see CeeDee Lamb. You're not going to see Brandon Cooks. I don't know if you're going to see any of Jalen Tolbert. If so, it probably won't be very much. The young guys, the guys that are fighting for 1, maybe 2 spots, but also practice squad spots. Cropper, Billy Johnson, Flournoy, McMath, Durden, and more are fighting for their NFL lives on the practice squad or showcasing to some other team what they can do. So we'll see what happens on that front. Number 4, welcome to the NFL first-year players. Yeah, you've got the joint practice, which will probably be as close as we see the starters actually getting some run. We broke that down on Thursday night for you guys. But there are 8 draft picks for the Cowboys. I think they're all going to play at least a little bit. Guyton, what I put maybe as a question mark, but I think they're all going to play. You'll see a lot of Cooper Beebe at center. How are those snaps? That's worth monitoring. Does Kalen Carson continue his strong camp into the preseason? How does Flournoy look? We mentioned him. I think Nate Thomas could be impressive in the preseason at either guard or tackle. Justin Rogers, can he help stop the run? I think those young players, their first experience of NFL life, there's a lot of benefits to putting them out there for at least a little bit. Number 5 thing for me is who actually doesn't play. Is there a surprise player that we thought was maybe on the roster bubble, but they don't put out there just because they actually think he's pretty safe on his roster spot? And I think in particular, who gets run at the running back spot? I don't think Zeke's going to play. That'd be kind of weird at his age and his veteran status. I think Rico Dowdle's maybe too important for you. I still think he's your best actual back on the roster, but maybe he plays. If he does play, might indicate he's not a roster lock yet. Royce Freeman, he coming off the groin injury, is he going to go? Does Malik Davis flash? Can one of the other down the roster running backs impress? Because these guys are not just fighting for RB3, maybe RB4 with the other players on the roster, but the other 31 teams are going to cut players. And those guys are also in contention for that spot. Because I don't know if the third back, if we count Hunter as a fullback is going to be is on this team right now. Players to watch. You knew who number 1 was. There's a no-brainer. It's not actually ranked because number 10 is also like kind of a no-brainer that we'll get to. I be honest, I almost forgot to put him on there. It was really dumb of me. But look, Trey Lance. Come on. The preseason is all about him, frankly. He has to show up. He's been in training camp so far. Been some moments, been some not so good moments. Probably a bit more down than up. Maybe he's just a gamer. If the Cowboys want Trey Lance to win this backup QB job, he hasn't earned it yet. So this is when he does it. Preseason. I hope he balls out because I want to not have wasted a 4th-round pick. So be honest with me, folks. What is your confidence level in Trey Lance? Scale it from 1 to 10 in the comments of today's show. Well, we mentioned Flournoy. He's the one I want to focus in more on, though, because he is the first-year player. He did some off-season training with Trey Lance, by the way. I think that connection could be very real. I want Flournoy because he offers the speed and some size combos that the team doesn't have on the roster, the active roster, the top 5 guys. I think that 6th guy might be pretty fast, though. I want to see if Flournoy can make some big plays. I think that'd be a good outcome for the Cowboys. Today's show was made possible by Rocket Money. Who here forgot about a subscription one time? At least one time, right? Everyone. I know I've done it several times. That's why I love Rocket Money. They are a personal finance app that finds and helps find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. The dashboard shows me this month's spending versus last month so I can clearly see my spending habits. Plus, they help create a custom budget so I can help keep my spending on track. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and saves a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. That's rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. The link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. But one more time for you, it is rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. Let's do these next 2 players together. It is John Stephens Jr. and Princeton Fant. Stephens started camp pretty hot. I think he's kind of cooled off a little bit from the info we can gather out there. Princeton Fant, meanwhile, this team likes him. I think there are 2 roster spots locked in at tight end. Jake Ferguson, Luke Schoonmaker. You also could put on this list, frankly. Tight end 3, maybe tight end 4 up for grabs. Who can block well? Who can catch passes well? Who can do a little bit of both? Who can make some explosive plays? That tight end spot is a roster battle that is not yet settled. Preseason week 1, good chance to make a splash, though. Score prediction time for the Cowboys against the Rams. Normally, it's probably going to be a lower scoring game. I think like 21-17 would actually be just hitting the over there. Get your score predictions in for me in the comments of today's show. 5th and final offensive player, Asim Richards. I think he's going to get a lot of run at left tackle. I hope he does. I want to see if Asim Richards can outplay Chuma Edoga and take that backup left tackle spot. I think that'd be a good thing for Dallas if that happened. That is what I want to have happen. And, you put Matt Letzko on here. There's too many people on this offensive line that have had draft pick or playing time investments. You kind of go 12 deep. Guyton, Smith, Hoffman, Martin Steele, Edoga, Thomas, Beebe, Bash, Let's plus Ball and Richards. At most, you're carrying 10. At most, barring injury. To defense, Viliami Fehoko. Got to see something. We're kind of out of time. The honeymoon phase for that entire 2023 draft class is over. Mazi Smith has shown something in camp at times. Fehoko was the healthy scratch pretty much all year. Just never active. The guys that drafted him said, the red flag. Where is he? And also I want to see where he plays. Is it more DE or more DT? He's kind of a tweener between both spots. We will be live for our Cowboys versus Rams matchup. So if you haven't already, now's a great time to subscribe. Let's go to Durrell Johnson, the defensive end out of Liberty, the second-year player. There is a roster spot open now along the edge rushing group. Who's it going to be? Because you're going to have Micah Parsons there, Tank Lawrence, Marshawn Nealon. Sounds like Chauncey Golston's playing a lot of interior defensive line. Fehoko can do some defensive end stuff. Is it Tyrus Wheat? Is it Al-Qadi Muhammad? Is it Shakatoni? I would not sleep, though, on Durrell Johnson. Out of Liberty from last year. There were some traits like about him coming out of college. He could make a flash in the preseason. If someone gets a bunch of sacks in the preseason, it might be your defensive end 5. Eric Scott Jr. This kind of falls into the Junior Fehoko category. They traded up for him, but that was a heavily influenced Dan Quinn pick. Dan Quinn's gone. There's only so many spots at corner, folks. Kalen Carson is making this team. That leaves 1, maybe 2 spots if we include Israel Mukwam, who's a bit banged up right now, for Eric Scott and Nahshon Wright. Look, Nahshon Wright suffers from extreme Chidobe syndrome. He gets himself in decent position as he's so long, he makes it tough on receivers. But he can't make the play on the ball consistently enough. And he's a little leggy at times in his transitions. I want one of these guys to impress. And they're not going to play Lewis, they're not going to play Bland, they're not going to play Diggs. Guys are going to play a lot. Make some plays for me. If you're only keeping one of these corners, who is it? NW for Nahshon Wright, ES for Eric Scott. Sound off in the comments. And Mazi Smith is last up here. This is the most obvious of the defensive names, right? Because I think he's going to play in the preseason. Kind of be surprised if he didn't. Or maybe that's a good thing if he doesn't play, by the way. It might be a good thing. Would mean that the Cowboys love what they've seen from so far in camp and aren't just, staying positive for the sake of staying positive. I need to see Mazi make some plays. Now, that can be as simple as making plays as in absorbing double teams and the guy behind him actually makes it, but Mazi set it up. That's fine. Will be tough to tell live at times. But first-round pick, talking about him having improved something in the preseason, that's not a good sign. Hopefully he shows up.